The one fellow who said fire Feige before it became popular has just been axed by Iger. It seems like Robert Iger is taking out a vengeance on those who disagree with him, using these job cuts as a proxy way of placing them on leave. Now, Marvel is facing some of the strongest headwinds you can possibly imagine. Their big star under big trouble, potentially. Was Ike Perlmutter right all along? And is the Walt Disney Company in more trouble than you can imagine? Well, warm wishes to everybody out there. Hope you're having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great, big, beautiful world. We here on the WDW Pro Channel are explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day. It is the business that we engage in. Helping us do so today in terms of Marvel is Culture Casino, back on the channel yet again. Mr. Casino, welcome back.
Well, thank you once again for having me back. I always love hanging out with you and discussing all the crazy that is entertainment nowadays.
Well, it is a pleasure, and the pleasure is mine. Now, let me say this, folks. If you like content like this, click the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about the notification bell. The Pro Show is Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m. We're live. Make sure you drop in and see us, and we covet your comments, so please drop one down below and let us know your thoughts. We respond, we read them, we really do care. We're interested in what you were thinking. All right, now, one thing that I'm thinking right now is that some people are misgauging severely the situation that the Walt Disney Company is in. What I'm referring to is that there are some people out there, they are taking joy in Disney's fall, and I kind of understand that. I get it. But I want to give people pause. And the pause that I want to give you is that we are nowhere close, I think, to the bottom of this. So while it is fun right now to watch Disney sort of taking the fall that we all predicted, to see them taking the comeuppance that they deserve, I want people to understand that this is just the cusp of it, in my opinion. Disney is doubling down on dumb. And because they're doubling down on dumb, we are now going to see, I believe, an accelerating decline in the company. And here's why I don't take joy in it, culture. And then I want your opinion on this. But the reason that I'm not happy, and that may surprise people, they say, why? You got to be kidding. Pro should be ecstatic. He's always ranting and raving about the Disney Company. Well, I don't take joy in it because the people who will suffer are the people who had no part in the decision-making process, by and large. Culture, what do you think about that? Are we going to see actual people at the top who make decisions? Are they going to be the ones who go down for this, or is it mostly going to be just average folks?
You know what? I share your concerns. I think that and your opinion, to be honest with you, I think that you're going to see the regular, below the line folks suffering. Anybody who works, as a production assistant in various places, they work in marketing and they work in different levels of acquisition. We've already lost the entire exterior acquisitions wing.
Sure, and the entire metaverse division, the group that was looking at next generation storytelling.
All 51 of them. Yeah, I mean, it was and it's nothing to, like you said, I mean, I can get why people have schadenfreude, and I will say I have a little bit myself, but at the same time, these are not the people that you should be shuffling out the door. And while people are going to point towards a few of the executives that have leaked out, and we're about to talk about one, I don't necessarily think that that's really necessarily enough steps in the right direction, because it is from the C-suite down where we have real issues with this company. Leadership is leading this company the wrong way. So
and just think about it this way. In my opinion, Robert Iger is still going to get Robert Iger's yacht. He's still going to get to do all the things that he wants to do, whether or not he destroys your favorite content or puts the people in places that are able to do so. So, but let's take a look at one of these executives. And it's interesting in that this is one of the executives who foretold that problems were ahead. This guy, although he's not been right in every single situation, sometimes he's been very wrong. Mm-hmm. He seems to have been on the side of most fans. Probably most of the people who watch this channel would get along very well with Ike Perlmutter, the guy who sold Marvel to Disney, and then later on said, hey, this Kevin Feige fellow that's had such a great run, there's something wrong here. That being back around 2015, 2016. And culture, the interesting thing about that is, at that time, you would assume, so again, 2015, 2016, you would assume that phase 3 had already been mapped out. It seems that Ike Perlmutter had this thing pretty close to right on the nose, because once we escaped phase 3 and moved to something that he was not participating in because he was removed ultimately from decision-making processes, and Feige then was unconstrained from Ike Perlmutter, once phase 4 began, we have now seen it corroborated that they only had, under Disney, one single profitable movie. And that was Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, itself riding the wave from Spider-Man No Way Home, which is a Sony movie.
Yes. Which is crazy, and to be fair, I mean, there is a profit-sharing system between the two whenever Spider-Man, makes appearances and things like that. So I'm not entirely convinced that film was all that profitable, but I will concede it and say that, phase 4 financially was a disaster, and it was not what they were looking for. Now, people are going to say the film's just underperformed. Yes, almost all of the films underperformed. And, absent Doctor Strange, which, as you mentioned, was, largely riding the goodwill of Spider-Man No Way Home, I can't see a single project that they can jump up and down about. And I think that you're seeing the diminishing returns already because of the leadership, just like we did at Lucasfilm with the diminishing returns of Star Wars.
I call it the Phase 5 dive.
Yes.
In my opinion, we have not seen anything yet, but we're predicting it. And so far, we've got a pretty good track record on these sorts of things. Let's take a look now at the article by Adam B. Very out of Variety. Disney absorbs Marvel Entertainment amid layoffs, dismisses Chairman Ike Perlmutter. Disney's cost-cutting measures have reached to the top echelons of the company. Ike Perlmutter, chairman of Marvel Entertainment, has been laid off as his division, which is separate from Marvel Studios, is absorbed into other units of Disney. Along with Perlmutter, Marvel's Entertainment's co-president, Rob Steffens, and chief counsel, John Turretson, were also dismissed. Dan Buckley, president of the division, is staying and will report to Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige. A Disney spokesperson confirmed the departures to Variety. The 80-year-old Perlmutter, who still owns a considerable share of Disney stock, was at the center of activist investor Nelson Peltz's months-long fight to join the Disney board, which, by the way, has been ended. But Peltz has said if things don't go well, he's willing to start that proxy war up again. Variety reported in February that Perlmutter's backing of Peltz was due at least in part to CEO Bob Iger's decision to sever Perlmutter's control of Marvel Studios in 2015, which eventually reduced Marvel Entertainment to not much more than consumer products and comic book publishing. All true. Here's my question for you, Mr. Casino. Is this simply Robert Iger seeking vengeance via these job layoffs, using this job-cutting situation in order to extradite and to excommunicate those who would question his legacy?
Yes. That is a very simple answer. I'm sorry. This is nothing more than retribution, recompense, whatever term you want to throw at it. It is the way shrewd business people operate. And while I do believe that this is a losing chess move, it does buy Iger more time. It doesn't take away the $1 billion or $2 billion worth of shares that now you have control of with Ike Perlmutter. He's very wealthy person, and he's very angry person now.
And let's pause here too and say, Casino, it's just what we said before. He's 80 years old. He's extraordinarily wealthy. Although he's been removed from Disney, which is probably a hit onto his ego, that's not to say that he's suffering in the way that somebody who loses their job and has worked for Disney for 3 or 4 years and worked their way up at the parks into finally being low-level management. That person suffers greatly when their job is gone. Ike Perlmutter, not so much.
Yeah, and I like I said, I mean, in terms of the financial, he's fine, but he's on the way out the door. He is getting paid, unlike, of course, Alonzo, who we'd spoken about before in previous places. But I strongly suspect that, they want him to sign a piece of paper that he isn't going to sign. And I strongly suspect that he's going to take up arms with Peltz. And I think that we're about to see the stockholders meeting, which is on the 3rd.
Yes.
Be pretty messy, I anticipate.
And here's what I think. I think this is just the beginning. I don't
Yes.
think, well, I don't know how much the legacy and access media journalists, putting them in quotes, I don't know how well connected they are to the truth. They may be delusioned at this point to think that, oh, it's Disney. It's just, Disney will never face the kind of headwinds that the crazies on the internet might say. But I'm looking at this, and I have videos coming out this weekend that are going to blow people's mind, I think, in terms of how bad this is. But I'm looking at, I could go through the list. It's amazing. The Mandalorian, half of its audience is gone.
Yeah.
The Galactic Star Cruiser, it's running at half capacity and still offering 30% discounts, trying to get anybody to come visit it.
Yeah.
Marvel Entertainment with Quantumania losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Disney Plus ratings cratering compared to where they were a year ago, despite supposedly their subscribers increasing. I mean, it is red alert everywhere on the company. And I don't think people understand yet where we're going to be in a year. It could be bad.
Can I add to some of the losses that nobody's seeing here in the United States?
Yes, you can. Go for it.
Well, the Disney went out, and instead of having full control over the India Premier League cricket, right, they only ended up with a partial share, sharing in part with a foreign investment fund that actually is part of Paramount's financiers, right? If I believe so, but it's one of their competitors. And when I look at it, I'm like, okay, you are going to lose, and this is verified now, they're going to lose somewhere between $200 million and $300 million every year of the contract, even for half the rights. They cannot replace the money they're spending with advertising. It's not possible. The cricket rights, I mean, India's cricket mad, and of course the rest of the globe also has some enjoyment for that sport. And Hotstar is one of the places that you can consume it.
And Hotstar is the location where we had the most significant drop in Disney Plus subscribers in the last quarter.
And it was directly driven by the cricket rights deal, believe it or not. Yeah, and so but it doesn't matter. Neither of these entities are doing good business as far as profit is concerned. Now, whether or not they can elevate themselves because it's a loss leader, that's a different conversation. But Disney's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars in Disney Plus again, just in the Hotstar purchase of the IPL, at least the rights for the next few years. That contract is $200 million, maybe $300 million out the door every year. You have a horizon of films that are not going to hit well. You have reports coming out, and I'm sure you're well informed about them, that Disney's perfectly fine with losing money. When those make it out to investors, you don't think there's going to be more support for what Nelson Peltz wants to do?
Well, let me tell you this. We're at the precipice of more Strange World situations. You know how bad Strange World was for Disney, the embarrassment. But it's not just an embarrassment. It is the abdication of Disney from being at the forefront of animation and handing it on a silver platter to other studios to take the lead. Well, we're going to get more of those kinds of devastating box office numbers. It may not be as bad, but to be in that same league as Strange World in the future is just going to be devastating to the company.
Well, consider this, and I know we weren't going to talk about this, but you have the Mermaid film coming up that won't be in direct competition, but to some extent will kind of be have some competition with that Kraken film that's coming out.
Sure.
I believe that Universal will shellac Disney again, and maybe will be 5 years in a row of Universal's animation departments beating down anything that Disney has to offer.
Well, absolutely. We know that the Super Mario Brothers movie is going to just blow away the box office. And we now have it confirmed. And as far as I know, I'm the first person to ever talk about this. I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but as far as I know, I was the first. It's now confirmed by Chris Pratt. We've got a Nintendo Cinematic Universe now on the way
Yeah.
It's in development. It's going to be amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't tell you what a threat that is to Disney, except that I can. We'll have a video on it Saturday. But
Well,
go ahead.
the Zelda film is a little farther along than anybody knew.
Yes, it
in the
is.
Yeah.
And we've got sources over there, so it's going to be a lot of fun as we cover that. I like it when big movies are on the way, when I can get scoops on it. That's a fun thing to do. And also, don't be surprised if a Metroid film is soon coming.
Mammoth.
We'll see about that. Now, I do want to navigate over to
Sure.
this other major headache that Disney is going to be suffering from.
So
Before we
many.
do, I have to come back to the mermaid for just a moment.
Yes.
This is my only comment on it in this video. All they had to do was release the movie and shut up, and they would have made $1 billion, and they can't do it. So
make sure to catch The Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.
any thoughts on that one, Culture?
No, I think that's exactly. Call it like you see it, my friend. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's take a look at this regarding Jonathan Majors, and this is a big one. This is going to put Disney in a major bind, and I mean that perhaps literally. So what is Disney going to do about Jonathan Majors? This from IndieWire by Tony Maglio and Brian Welk. That might be Maglio, I'm not sure. Jonathan Majors is charged with assault and harassment, and we don't know yet the truth, but whatever the answer, Disney has a problem. All right, so I don't even like talking about this kind of stuff. You and I were discussing this before.
Yeah.
We're gonna read the article, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't like it. I don't like it because somebody is treating somebody poorly. We don't know who it is yet. And there's no way to separate it out and keep somebody protected who should be. Either Jonathan Majors did something he really should not have, or this lady who is said to be his girlfriend, don't know if they're still girlfriend and boyfriend now, but this other person could be doing him very wrong. But somebody is doing somebody very wrong, and somebody is very much a victim of this situation. And it sucks to have to talk about an issue where we can't parse out who's in the right, who's in the wrong, and it's just messy. It's just really messy. But we're stuck doing it because it has major financial implications for Disney. So anyway, I want to give that I want to give that heads up before we get into this.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Disney's got a Majors problem. Here's the facts. The red-hot actor, Kang the Conqueror in Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, the baddie in Creed 3, and the bodybuilder in Searchlight's Magazine Dreams was arrested on the morning of March 25th on accusations of assault, strangulation, and harassment after reported altercation with a woman. On March 26th, according to the Manhattan's District Attorney Office, he was charged with multiple counts of assault and attempted assault in the third degree, a count of aggravated harassment in the second degree, and a count of harassment in the second degree. An ABC News report filed the same day, noting the Army paused its recruitment campaign featuring Majors, added, the New York police said the actor was involved in a domestic dispute with a 30-year-old woman. The victim informed police she was assaulted. According to police sources, the actor called 911 himself to report his concern about his girlfriend, whom he lives with. However, when police arrived, and this is just so messy. However, when police arrived, the girlfriend allegedly told a different story, saying that she and Majors were in a cab on the way home from a bar in Brooklyn when he physically attacked her, the police sources told ABC News on Sunday. The patrol officers noticed marks on her body, and they placed Majors under arrest. We then get from Priya Chaudhry, the attorney for Mr. Majors. She came out with a statement, and again, getting more messy, talking about how that the woman allegedly recanted. Then we had all kinds of YouTubers. We had all kinds of outlets saying that she'd recanted. That's the absolute wrong thing to do. I'm not trying to be highly critical. I'm not trying to be sanctimonious. But when the attorney for the alleged assault person in the situation comes out and tells you something, you don't take it at face value because they're doing a job. Now, could she have recanted? Perhaps. Did she? We don't know. We can't verify that. So be careful when you're reporting this stuff. I know it's difficult. Now, I want to skip through all this stuff that's really messy. It's going to talk about how there's a similarity here to the Ezra Miller situation and all that sort of thing. But I think that the bottom line is that we are going to now be going until May. That's the word, is that this is going to go until May before we get to the point where Mr. Majors is in a courtroom able to defend himself. So here's the issue with waiting until May. The issue is that if we wait until May, Marvel is stuck with a main villain who the actor, we don't know what's going to happen for months. And so they're just sitting there on pause trying to figure out, do we go ahead with writing for this character? Do we go ahead with writing for this actor? Do we go ahead with productions? What do we do here? So Culture, I want to turn to you because, again, it's messy.
Oh, yeah.
If you were in charge of Marvel, what do you do when you have this hanging over you and when you're not going to have a resolution to know what exactly happened for months?
Disney has trouble on, and of course, obviously, because they've put him front and center as Kang. And believe it or not, Fox Searchlight is the Magazine Dreams film. So that's another Disney property that's going to suffer from this. They're in a major quandary, and if they recast, they're going to get called out by everybody. And if they don't, and it's a wait and see thing, and despite all assurances, I mean, I guarantee Warner Brothers wishes they'd gone a different direction with what they did with Aquaman. But the biggest problem is nobody knows anything. So not only are they on pause, as you mentioned, they don't know what to do with any future project that Kang is involved in.
So Culture, back to the question.
Yeah.
If you were in charge,
yeah,
it's a hard question. I don't know the answer. What would you do in this situation that they're in?
Well, I would try to reach out through back channels to find out what the DA is going to do, what evidence the DA has that's not exculpatory. I would have a very lengthy conversation with my star and all of their representatives, including this attorney who is very well credentialed, by the way, having successfully won 40 criminal cases.
Are you referring to the
Priya,
to Mrs. Chaudhry, who's okay?
Yeah,
I didn't know if you're referring to her or to the district attorney.
No. She's this very well credentialed lawyer that represents Mr. Majors.
Yes.
But and again, I would want to see these supposed two statements. I mean, there's a lot of things I would do as somebody in charge of all this mess. I would want all of the information that anybody would be willing to give me, and even some if it had to be somewhat under the table.
Does it pull Disney in at all if they receive any of this information? Because his attorney is saying that they've got the evidence, right? I have no idea how the defense attorney could already have video footage from the cab, right? I don't know how that exists. I don't know how you get that from the taxi cab company, but they're saying they've got all this evidence. Can Disney ask for that without pulling themselves into this situation necessarily?
I think they're in it already. They can do it in a way that doesn't pull them into the situation, but they're in it already. I'm sorry. If you have this situation occur, you're going to have to take your best guess, presented all the information that you have, anything that you can possibly lay your hands on. I would be seriously asking for that, because the last thing I would want to do is move forward with Jonathan Majors in any additional films. In fact, I would be rethinking the whole Kang dynasty right now. I would be.
Oh, well, they have to be. They have to be after Quantumania. I don't care. And Culture, tell me this too, okay? Yeah. I was particularly both impressed, but not in a good way. Impressed and concerned with the level of hero worship that was being artificially manufactured around this actor. I don't know if you saw some of those clips where.
Oh, indeed. And
it was all practiced and rehearsed by the commentators, right? They were all told to pretend as if he's a god.
Right.
But it was weird. It was strange.
Well, in other places, the discussion is this is very similar to Sam Worthington, right? Before Avatar and everything else. They're trying to manufacture a movie star. And that's okay. They're just not good at it. And
really bad. It was
Hollywood hasn't been able to do that since old Hollywood. Like, rewind to the 50s, right? The golden age. They haven't been able to manufacture movie stars anymore. The stars just become movie stars. You can't make a Will Smith, although he did a really good job of doing it until he didn't anymore. But
Yes.
you can't make these people. You can't make a Tom Cruise. You just can't. So, like I said, that was all artificial. But they've really spent an awful lot of money and a lot of, I don't want to say goodwill, but a lot of their credit with the trades and, you know, all these other entities to try to build this guy up, because they need a new big bad, a new existential crisis for the universe for this next phase of Marvel. Well, I would say, you know what? Let's put Kang on pause. Let's put out a film that has no Kang in it. Let's do some one-offs. Let's go get a street level character. Let's push forward our Deadpool film. Let's give, you know, Ryan Reynolds more money to go faster. Let's give some of these other things a go. We can bring the X-Men in by, I don't know, doing another, you know, origin story for the like.
Well, they desperately need the X-Men at this point. I mean, they're sitting on a gold mine if they could do it right.
And if they enter into that properly, right? And Alonzo was going to be one of the factors that was going to guarantee that they wouldn't. But now that she's gone, perhaps they can greenlight and accelerate into a project that, with the proper amount of funding and motivation, they could get something out. And then if you find out that all of this has been overblown, and I pray that it does, because I pray that nobody ever intentionally, you know, does anything bad to a loved one. It really bothers me when that happens. So it would be very nice if this was a minor altercation of some sort, there was a major misunderstanding. That would be lovely if that were the case. Well, and again, it's been presented by the defense side of things, by Majors' people, that's the situation. She was having an emotional moment and what's really weird, from a female attorney calling out another female for being emotional, is something I've never seen before, but brilliant on them. But I like I said, I really hope that's the case, because otherwise, if that's not, at least you hit pause long enough that you could put an end credit scene in from something else that is another one-off. But I think what they do is they just say, you know, we need to improve our production design. It's going to delay all of our films. Miss Marvel's going to get delayed, please. And we're going to go back to the drawing board because, you know, these aren't up to snuff. I mean, the audience will forgive you, just like, you know, if you're trying to make a better product. But I think really the only thing that they can do is while that pause button is pushed, and I would agree with you 100%, it is. Yes. Is get something else put together and do a big thing that's again, it could be a one-off. You could just introduce the X-Men.
I'm with you.
Fantastic Four. I mean, we've been crying for Fantastic Four, the first family of Marvel, forever. Let's get that out there. But just do something fast that, you know, sticks to the original comic books, and then it's really easy. You don't have to come up with something new, and it doesn't have to fit into this, you know, this big overall arching story. But that's the only thing you can do. I don't think you can comfortably move forward with Majors being the face of your big bad for this phase until this is resolved, widely known. And in May, we don't know. This could get pushed. They could push it. It's happened before. Think how many times we've seen trials pushed for reasons. The Herd trial got pushed.
If it gets moved into late summer, that is just a nightmare scenario.
They're done. You know, and it happens.
Have you seen John Wick 4 yet?
Indeed, yeah, it was wonderful. I enjoyed it a lot.
So I'm looking at this, and I'm starting to think there's a trend here, because you've got Top Gun Maverick, you've got John Wick 4, Mission Impossible is coming. There's this different, almost throwback to, well, I guess in the case of Top Gun Maverick, truly a throwback to 80s genre. Yes. In the case of John Wick 4, it gave me definite samurai flick feelings.
It was 100% an 80s film. I'm that's what we're seeing is the resurgence, and the thing that they keep decrying is that there's a lot of toxic masculinity here.
So. But look what they're doing at the box office. And so what I'm thinking is, has the pendulum now shifted? Are superheroes now much less exciting than what I just watched in John Wick 4, what I've watched in Top Gun Maverick, and what I presume I'll be watching when Mission Impossible comes out? Are we going back to less CGI, more stunts, a whole lot of choreography? And oh my gosh, John Wick 4 is a piece of art. Oh my gosh.
It's cinematically a masterpiece from a cinematography standpoint.
The aerial scene.
I know.
That, I can't even tell you. when you watch CGI and you watch lasers and the giant monsters falling and all that, that has nothing in comparison to
No.
watching a single take, continuous, from a camera angle you never even thought could exist in a movie,
No.
and everybody seems to nail it with perfection. I mean, it's just like you just want to stand up and applaud and say, "Wow!"
I honestly was like, "How did you do that?" It was like 6 straight minutes of perfection as far as choreography and everything. I can't imagine being able to do that again.
So culture, that's how we talked back in 2012, 2013 when we saw these CGI things that were unbelievable.
Right.
We going back now to this other thing. Has something else caught our eye?
Can I suggest something that I think is part of all of this as far as
Always.
It is films can only or should only ask you for one big ask in a film. Just one. That's sometimes you can get away with asking one per act if you're really good. And they can get away with that. What happened is because of the CGI and its spectacular nature, it's what you were just referring to. It's visual, exploitation, right? The overwhelming of your senses. Because of that, they got lazy and they stopped investing in story. They stopped investing in characters, and because they felt like dazzling the audience was the way to win at the box office.
Right. They moved towards the Transformers model.
Exactly. And the audience got savvy to that and got bored with it. That's my suggestion, is that Top Gun is very effective filmmaking. It's mostly practical. John Wick is very effective filmmaking. It's mostly practical. I think, seeing Tom Cruise do that one stunt in promotion of this film, that's all practical. How many times did he do that stunt? 17, 20? Who knows how many times they recorded that?
The word that comes to my mind, culture? Visceral. There is a visceral quality to what we are wishing to see, and which is now no longer in the superhero movies.
Right. I mean, because I believe that the audience can only stand so much of that, and they really are more likely to reject it if it's not in service of a story. And because we have been storyless for an entire phase, 17 different projects, whether it be film or television, the audience has rejected the MCU Phase 4. Those are just my thoughts.
That brings me to a final question for you then.
Yeah.
Perlmutter predicted that Feige needed to be let go. That went counterintuitive to everything that Iger believed in, everything that Disney thought was true.
Right.
So Perlmutter was essentially replaced in the decision-making tree by Victoria Alonso, who is now also gone. But Perlmutter may have been onto something. Without his constraints placed on Feige, this has just been a horrendous drop-off. And it's getting worse. It's accelerating. Yes. And so my question to you, with all of these fires going on, with all of this lackluster audience response, with the main villain now heading to court in a messy battle that, as you said, there's no guarantee that this thing wraps in May. In fact, it's probably more likely that it does not. Yeah. But with all of those things happening, is Feige finally in the hot seat? And if he's not, what would it take?
Oh, he's in the hot seat. There's no doubt about it. He's been in the hot seat since the numbers for Wakanda came in, as disappointing as they did. I think Coogler's realized he's probably going to have to move on. I think you have.
Keep going. This is truth bomb after truth bomb. Keep going, man.
I already can tell you that revelations that have now been made public about the things we've been talking about with VFX houses rejecting Disney work is not, that's not going well. And it did contribute to Alonso losing her job, despite that not being the named reason. You have,
and say this too, the merchandising partners saying, screw this. We don't want your Eternals toys. Keep going. Keep going, culture.
Yeah. It's just, I think Feige's been sitting on this hot seat for a while now. And I think that Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania may have turned it up to just under boiling. He's a little over simmering right now. He's really close to boiling. And I think one more flop, whatever you want to call it, bomb, whatever choice word you would like to.
The Marvels is coming. The Marvels is coming.
And I think if I were him, I'd be terrified, because that is going to be so laden with CGI reliance I
Well,
can't even imagine.
and there's a latent hatred of it in the
Well,
fan base, ready to boycott it with glee.
For one of the stars, there certainly is not a lot of love, and again, that's all Marvel's fault. Brie Larson can be likable or unlikable. You can take her or leave her. Her performance
I posit she's going crazy. That's my
she is.
Well, she's been quite
abused. She's been quite abused by the system for a while, and I'm not talking about in a bad, like in a terrible way that normally people would describe the abuse. I'm saying that they propped her up, told her, and promised her the moon.
Yeah, she was the Tony Stark.
And they pulled her completely out of it, recognizing that despite the fact that a film made $1 billion, and we can argue about just how artificial some of that was, we can talk about the fact of how it was a film that benefited from the film before it, and
you'll have to go to another channel to have that argument. We're in total agreement here.
Yeah. So my position is Feige's in trouble, and you know what? Would it surprise me if the Marvels go sideways that he doesn't find a way to move on? He moves into his own production space. Disney says farewell, thank you for all the hard work, we'll bring you in to direct a Star Wars film or something.
Sure. Something has to happen. I mean, the Marvels is going to be decimated. We may go all the way until Deadpool 3 before we get a profitable Marvel movie. I
think so. And we're watching, this is the weirdest thing. We're watching Disney implode in all other places, right? We can talk about the MCU related to majors. This is a real problem. It's a financial issue too, because the more they delay, the more money's out the window, just like what happened with Indiana Jones. But then that's Lucasfilm. But let's look at it this way. And I think you probably already spoke about this, but they took all three of their television elements, right? And they've whittled it down to one. They got rid of their acquisitions at a time when they absolutely need acquisitions of outside projects. They got rid of Meta, which we talked about, their metaverse element.
Which is essentially, and you might poo-poo that and laugh about it, but really that's a research and development tool. So you have no idea what could come out of that. It doesn't have to be virtual reality stuff. Well, there's any number of things that could have been created through it.
Well, the volume that most people brag about, the stagecraft, whatever you want to talk it, came out of Imagineering. Most people don't realize, as a pre-visualization concept called the dish, where you could pre-viz rides and stuff. Most people don't know that out there, but it's like their R&D is amazing, and they spend tons of money on it. And so imagine how much money was spent developing alongside what, Meta was going to do, Facebook was going to do with their metaverse. Imagine how much money was spent in an effort to make that go.
Yes. And so for those at home, what we're talking about right now is the fortification of Disney. The problem with fortifying, where you remove all of these ancillary kind of, ideas out there, is that when you fortify, both in the real world and in business, there's no exploration happening because everybody's drawn back behind the walls.
Yeah. And they're not the only one being limited. I mean, we've already seen contraction in marketing. We predicted that. I mean, you and I both talked about that at length other places, but I suggest that we aren't even close to what this bloodbath is going to look like. And I think we're going to lose some middle level executives. I think for the most part through the summer, the theme park gigs are okay. But I think after the summer,
well, there's two divisions, Culture, that I think are doing very well. And they're combined together. They're really close together.
Parks.
Yes, and within those you've got subdivisions.
Yeah.
Really and truly, Walt Disney World is pulling all of that. I mean, if you look at Disneyland Paris, it's nothing compared to Walt Disney World.
No.
But Walt Disney World is doing phenomenal. So kudos to them. But then also the cruise lines. And outside of that, the company's on fire. I mean, there's not a lot of good signs right now. Not a lot of good indicators out of those two.
And again, a lot of people are like, trust in Bob, Uncle Bob, the weatherman. He's going to save everything. And I'm thinking, guys, look, I mean, if anybody was headed in the right direction, it was Chapek before, he didn't follow the PR guy's advice that they got rid of. But they are on fire. And what's surprising me is that just the sheer magnitude of Bob is what is keeping the stock price over $90.
Well, there's a buy-in to his charisma that seems to be, it's going to be evaporating very quickly, I think. When people start losing their jobs, and by the way, if you think that these 7,000, that's going to be it, have fun thinking that. I'm not going to tell you that there's absolutely going to be more, but I mean, I've went on the record with saying that I have multiple sources saying otherwise. We'll see how it all turns out.
I suspect after the summer, there's going to be more, and it's going to be frontline people. It's going to be cast members at the theme parks, and it's going to hit globally at that point, because the travel season will be over. You have the Christmas season, which they always have been able to manage with less staff at the parks, specifically at Florida. And I think the very moment that Epic Universe opens in Florida, which is a ways away yet, and they lose all that market share.
Well, when this Mario Brothers movie comes out, and when it does its billion plus, and when we start hearing about these other Nintendo Cinematic Universe properties coming out, and when we start to see that this is all leading towards a Super Smash Brothers movie eventually, I think that Disney, they haven't even understood just what they're facing quite yet, because they can't break 200 million with their animated films right now. And you're going to be looking at, from their competition, quintupling Disney's box office over and over and over, because I don't see a Nintendo property that could come out that won't make $1 billion.
It's going to be a long run of them. And again, they've already taken over the number one position, the pole position in animation.
Sure. Minions did that.
Years? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Minions did that. Shrek's coming back now.
Yeah.
It's going to be something.
6 years in a row, 7 years in a row. It would be very, very devastating to Disney if they lose that position. But look, compare Kraken to Elemental. I'm sorry, just compare those two things. Anyway, you're
gonna steal my Saturday or Sunday video on that one, because we're gonna talk about Elemental.
I won't say anything more.
Elemental is going to. I don't even know how to express how bad this is going to be for Disney, but we'll talk about it very, very soon.
Sounds good.
Culture, thank you so much for being on. It is a lot of fun every time you're on. I hope the audience has as much fun as you and I have in these conversations. Although, let me say, we're not having fun talking about normal people losing their jobs. That's no fun at all.
No, we're not having fun talking about what's happening in Jonathan Major's life either.
No. But we are having fun with the ability to jump off of ideas with one another, and especially when we talk about things like John Wick and these other films that really are inspiring to watch their cinematography and their choreography. It's just wonderful. So, Culture, where can people find you if they loved a conversation such as this?
Right down here, Culture Casino is my YouTube brand. It's also my Rumble brand. It's my Twitter brand. It's my Odyssey brand. It's my Minds brand. Everywhere you could think of, most likely just look for this and you'll find me. Other than Instagram, there's an imposter using my name at Instagram. But
how dare they? And folks, if you have not yet subscribed to Culture Casino on all of those areas, seriously, what are you waiting for? Get over there and hit that button. Let's go.
Thank you, Pro.
Well, it's been a great joy. I hope people are tuning in to the Pro Show, Thursdays, 5 to 7 live. We started our first show, and it was a lot of fun. I think it's going to be even better with the second one. And I'm really excited. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about that notification bell. We covet your comments because we really care about what you think. This is a conversation between all of us, not just two people on YouTube. So please share your thoughts. We comment back, and we love to read it. You are truly the electricity that drives all of this. It's nothing without you. Folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and of course, having fun.